Good morning, everyone, and thanks for your patience. Would Reverend Rodney Williams please come forward and give us an invocation, please?
Let us pray. Father, we come now and we take this time just to thank you for allowing us to come. And we ask that you would lead, guide, and direct us that we might do kingdom business through the education process. Father, we do love you and we adore you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Okay, now that we've taken care of all our technical difficulties, we can get started. Next, I'd like to bring to welcome the state president for the NAACP Missouri State Conference of Branches, Mrs. Mary A. Ratliff.
Thank you, President Russell. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a good day that the Lord has made, and I'm so grateful to be able to be here with you this morning. The State NAACP Conference is here to join with you, to work in partnership with you, to help look out for our most precious resources, and those are our children. And our children, and we say we are talking about our future, but right here and now is the present. The next second is our future. So we are talking about our young people and what we can do to make life better for them, to try to give them the kind of undergirding that we have been provided over the years. And so our sole purpose here is to help you, the Kansas City, assist you to join in partnership with you, the Kansas City, Missouri community, so that we can all work to make to get the best educational opportunity for our young people that is possible. We can close the achievement gap. We will close the achievement gap. We are dedicated to closing the achievement gap so that we can be competitive in this global society. Have a great day, and it's good to be here with you, to see so many of you out today.
Thank you, President Ratliff. And we are just so glad to see all of you here this morning. And this is like a call to action about education for our children. And you have answered the call, and we're just so glad to see you. In fact, we know many of you are here representing organizations. And if you would please, if you are here and you're representing an organization, would you just stand and get the name of your name and the name of the organization you're representing, so we can tell who's in the house, okay?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Vincent Muhammad. I'm a local representative of the Honorable Wednesday Group Character and Obligation this time.
I'm a teacher in the Kansas City School District. I'm also president of the Sheridan Estates Neighborhood Association.
My name is Richard Tolbert. I'm here representing the Elders Conference of Kansas City. However, I am an elected trustee for the Kansas City Metropolitan Community College District. And as I often point out, in that capacity, I serve as a grandfather to the Kansas City School District. So I take the grandfather parents' prerogative to be able to jump in and help out without having to be invited.
And I am here representing the liberties
I am Libby Sauer, and I'm here representing Teach for America.
I'm Nadia Niz. I'm also representing Teach for America, and I'm a teacher at Northeast High School.
I'm Nova Pearl from the City Council, 3rd District at large, so I'm representing the city.
I'm Darwin Curls. I'm with Congressman Amanda Cleaver, and
I'm Laura McDonald. Sorry about that. I'm Laura McDonald, and I'm representing Moore Square.
Jessica Piedra, and I'm here with the Latino Coalition of Kansas City.
I'm Gloria Snowden, and I'm the Education Chair of the Johnson County NAACP.
Reverend Tommy Rollins, representing Kansas City, Missouri Baptist Ministry.
I'm Renee Dorsey, and I'm representing Visitation CCO Communities Community Opportunity.
I'm Will Shivers, representing Prince Hall Places, City.
I'm Lamar Vickers, representing the KCOGs, old guys, old girls, keeping communities on guard. I'm here representing the need for the community to get involved in the school district so that we can help change the conditions of this school district with one volunteer at a time.
I'm Mr. Roland Handy, and I'm one of those old guys. And I'm here representing the Methodist Ministers Fellowship.
My name is Brother Charles Sweated. I'm here representing the Church Out Ministry Coalition, and I'm also the president of the Center Elementary School, ETN.
I'm John Sharp, I'm an old guy too. I'm also on City Council representing the 6th District, and I'm a former two-term member of the Hickman Mills Board of Education.
I'm Andrea Flinders. I guess I'm the old gal. I'm president of the Kansas City Federation of Teachers and School-Aid Personnel.
Good morning, my name is Scott Wagner. I'm on the City Council representing the 1st District at large. 1st District is primarily, well, it's all in Clay County, which is outside of the district, but the reality is we're all in this together.
Thank you so much, and I see we have representatives from just everywhere, so all organizations, so thank you so much for coming. Now next we're going to move on to our statement of purpose, and that will be given by Mr. Wale Anusa, and he is the chair, the education chair for the NAACP's State Conference of Branches.
Good morning. Good morning. Let's give it up for Ms. Ratliff, our fearless president of the Missouri NAACP, has been on the front lines of struggle for equal rights, education, access to jobs, a fairer justice system, and a better quality of life for all Missourians. Let's give it up for Ms. Ratliff. She is the leader of our organization, and everything that I do in the organization, I do with her solid approval. Also, let's give it up for the great chapter of the NAACP in Kansas City, an organization that has been a part of the fabric of the movement for change, going back almost 100 years, if not more, in Kansas City, and part of the cultural, political, civic, educational, economic history of the great city of Kansas City, Ms. Anita Russell, Ms. Rosa James, our partner Ms. Marion in the back there, give it up. Also, I will be remiss if I did not bring you greetings for our hardworking, great leader in St. Louis, Mr. Adolphus Pruitt, on whose board I sit, one of the most strategic minds that we have in the state of Missouri, that is moving people at all levels, in almost every aspect of life in the state of Missouri. Please give me a hand. I want you to know that people in Kansas City appreciate what he's doing. I thought I saw Senator Curls over there, Kiki Curls. Is she here? She had to leave. Okay, hopefully she'll come back. Thank you very much. Basically, let me say this. As I'm a life member of the NAACP and have been a life member for a very long time. And I'm also a member of the board of the NAACP in St. Louis, Missouri. I chair the State Education Committee, and also for the state, also the Education Committee in St. Louis. I have been involved in education for over 30 years. At one time, I was a business agent for the Teachers Union in St. Louis AFT. At another time, I was a lobbyist for the St. Louis Public Schools for 5 years in Jefferson City. I'm also a researcher, an analyst, and a writer, but primarily I'm an organizer. And as an organizer, one of the things that I do know is that I know human problems requiring the energies of intelligent people that cannot be solved, especially when we talk about education. As an organizer, I know that education is a totally collaborative process. I also know that education, public education for poor people, for poor children, for people of color, and for a long time for all women, has been neglected in our country for many years. I know that we have had challenges in the areas of parental and family engagement, in the areas of children who are not kindergarten ready to start school, in the areas of achievement gap that is so wide that continues to just, grow, in the fact that we spend a lot of energy trying to catch up and remediate the performance of our children at every level rather than getting them ahead of the curve. We also know that we live in a very stressful and very frustrating environment because of poverty and because of cultural insensitivities and because of some fragmentation that exists in our community. We know all of those in terms of real challenges. But we also know one thing. All those challenges don't mean nothing compared to what the people that came before us confronted 100 years ago. And guess what? They came together. They met illegally sometimes, and they came together and they fought. And they fought on every front: economic, education, cultural. You look around these rooms, you see all the icons. When they're talking about baseball, you're talking about education. Look at Mr. Watkins, one of the key leaders of this community. They fought at a time when sitting in a room like this, forums like this, was totally illegal. And people lost their lives. That's how they fought. They fought when it was illegal to have representation. Now we talk about the right to vote. Because when the NAACP was formed, not only did we live in Jim Crow, not only did we have, people being lynched left and right in this country for a lot of spurious reasons, we had all women in this country did not have the right to vote. And one of the platforms of the NAACP was to secure the right to vote, not just for African Americans, but for all Americans. Because when we say that we hold this truth to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by the Creator to certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Those are the ideals, but we live in a society where people have never been treated without struggle equally in this society, whether we're talking about education, business, and so on and so forth. That is a challenge, the people that came before us. But I've got news for you. Because 100 years ago, when the NAACP was formed, they sat together and they dreamt of a day when men and women, blacks and white, of all colors, would come together, be in office, locally, at the state level, at the federal level, have their churches without having to go underground, have businesses, send children to school all over the world, to higher education, do all those things. They fought, and I'm here to tell you today that you are the dream that they hoped for. You are the dream that they got on their knees and prayed that there could be a day like this, when you can get together like this and create and exercise the opportunity to develop the potential that is given to us, as human beings in this society. That snapshot is where I want to start this morning. That when we look at 100 years ago, we are the dreams and the hopes that they prayed for, that they died for, that they sweated for. Now we have congressmen, we have judges, we have politicians at every level, we have African Americans heading school districts, having cabinets in a position to make decisions. And they are in a position to do those things because of what they did 100 years ago. Today, the challenge is this. What is our snapshot? In this room today, what are we going to do with the crisis that we confront in education? What are we going to do with the fact that all across this country, not just in Kansas City, because sometimes when we just look at our own problems, we don't see the bigger picture. The fact is, what is happening here today is happening in every community all across the state of Missouri, all across the country. Men and women of conscience are coming together, black, white, Hispanic, Native American. They're coming together to solve problems that can be solved in those communities. And we're here today. And we're here to challenge ourselves. Because we have what I call a good problem. A problem that can be solved. And that problem is a very simple one. All the gold, all the treasures of the world cannot pay for the life of the least amongst us in this community. That is how valuable that life is. The human brain is so incredibly powerful that without human beings, there will be no culture, there will be no religion as we know it, there will be no smartphones, clothes, societies, and everything. That is how powerful and important it is. And yet, we live in a society where every day we are squandering millions and millions of lives every day and wasting massive potential. So we come here today with the belief that in those school districts where schools are doing very well, it's not because they're smarter than folks in Kansas City. Heck no, they're not. It's not because they're better than folks in Kansas City. We know they're not. The one thing that we do know in those communities is they're coming together as a community. They're coming together to work together, all segments of the community, to do whatever they can to provide quality education for their children. So our challenge is this, it's a very simple one, brothers and sisters. We meet today in a historic moment in the history of our nation. We meet today in a historic moment in the history of Kansas City. And this particular meeting here, you may end up seeing it on 18th and what's the name of that historic junction? In Kansas City, where it's going to be the museum, showing the paid images of people in here, showing the document that they put their names to, as making a commitment to do something that we need to do, that we must do as adults. Our purpose today is a very simple one. We want to unite the Kansas City community to address the challenges facing the Kansas City public schools, to work together to support public education, to support the superintendent of the school district, to support the school board, to support the teachers union, to support our children, and to support the parents. Because I'll tell you this, if you find one parent that doesn't want the best for their child, you have a parent that needs to be in a nut house, and you ain't going to find that many of them. The desire for better life is so deep, regardless of poverty or condition in life. Our people want the very best for their children. So we're going to get started this way. We're going to call on Dr. Stephen Green. So please give us a state of the district report. And after giving that report, we're going to call on various leaders that are in the room here that represent organizations. So please step forward and see what they can say or do to support. And then we have a very small task at the end of the process. Because in my book of organizing, there are no impossibilities. There are difficulties, but there are no impossibilities. Thank you very much. Dr.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lewis. Greetings, everyone, and we're glad to see you here this morning. And my responsibility and role here is to set the stage for where we are as a district, a bit of where we've come from, and a bit of where we are, and then looking at where we're going. As many of you know, the district was designated as unaccredited in January 2012. That was, as I shared in the meeting yesterday, it was a tremendous blow, not only to the school district, but to this community. And since that time, we've been laboring very intensively to move things forward and to stabilize this district and to bring to it the kind of quality that you would expect and that I expect. Before I begin into the presentation that I have prepared for you, I want to make sure that I acknowledge several key people that are here in the room that are involved with me and supportive of me in this endeavor. First of all, I want to recognize my board members who are here. Mr. Carl Evans, I see him there. Let's give him a round of applause. Sorry, Miss Marisol Montero. She's here right now. Let's give her a round of applause. Mr. Curtis Rogers is right here. You know him. And Mr. Joseph Jackson, who is here. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge members of my cabinet here. We're actually in dual duty today. We have a job fair going on at DeSale, so some of them I assigned to go to the job fair there. But numerous members of my cabinet are here, and I'd like for them to stand, and let's give them a round of applause. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of where we are as a district. This presentation is broken up into 3 phases. The first phase looks at the operation of the district, the operational stability of the district. And you'll see as we go through, some of you have copies of the handout there, of what that looks like, but I'm going to talk about some highlights as it relates to that. The second phase looks at the academic side of the house, and where we've been, where we are, and where we're trying to go. And then the third phase looks at a more of a visionary look at what I think is needed, and speaks to what Dr. Amusa was referring to as the opportunity and the challenge first, but the opportunity embedded within that challenge that we must face. So let's dive right in. And this is an abbreviated presentation that we had given to the state just last week. So as we look at in areas of business, finance, and operations, this is what we look like as a district in a snapshot. This outlines our cash balance. You'll see the various areas here that are highlighted. I hope they're more clearly outlined in your handout there. Our building corporation, our compensated absences, our student activities, etc. Probably the most important thing here, though, is the operating balance. This is a balance that we keep and we want to maintain at a reasonable level to be able to support the district. If you look across here, this looks at this breaks down, and I'm going to square it off right here, August 2012 year. This looks at us from January to June, and what our operating balance was at that time. And some of it's been cut off here, so I apologize for that, but hopefully it appears on your screen there. If you look over to the left, from here over, if you look over to the left, you'll see we're comparing years, July, August, September, October, November, December, 2012, 2013 being compared. But the thing to see here is that we have kept, even at the lowest level, a sizable operating balance. That protects this district from any emergencies and things that may arise. What I would like to say is we've done our due diligence, we've done our work in this area to maintain a healthy operating balance all the way over the last several years, and we will continue to do that. If you look over here on the right-hand column, you will see in terms of our comparative analysis here with revenue and expenses, and you will see that the blue representing revenue, the red representing expenditures, and you can see what we looked like in 2009, where we're slightly above, our revenue did exceed our expenses. We will want to continue in that vein, fairly close to 2010, 2011. You can see the relationship between revenue and expense, and these are actual. And you can see in 2012, we grew and kept a larger revenue balance coming out of that year. What's not present here is the red bar that's on the other side of this. It's in your handout there, but this is equal, but this is the budget year we're in right now. So we're right on course with where we are with our revenue and expenditures. Then we look at the dial, the meter readers that are at the bottom of the bottom of the screen here are compensated absence obligation. One of the things my CFO is proud to say, and he says it very often, is that while most districts do a pay-as-you-go in terms of compensating for sick days and for vacation days, etc., we're able to do that because we have a healthy cash balance, and we're able to do that up front. And we do not have to do a pay-as-you-go situation with that. Our debt ratio, we don't really have a debt service situation, but if we did have a debt service based on our building corporation relationship, our debt service would be at 2%. The ceiling for that, the limit is 15%. So we're well under in that area. We do, and this allows us to do some kinds of things that we are looking to do in terms of our capital projects and some other kinds of areas. One of the things that our CFO, Mr. Al Tunis, has said, that we are not a rich district, but we are not a poor district. We are a stable district. So this district is fiscally sound, and because it's fiscally sound, it allows us to do some things on the academic side of the house that many districts that are struggling financially are unable to do. We are able to prioritize our resources, we're able to reallocate resources, and focus on teaching and learning when we do that. Our fund balance is indicated right here in terms of where we are. The black representing where we've been. This looks like this is more so where we are. But we want to keep a relationship like this, a 24-25% fund balance that's outlined right here. Looking further at this chart in terms of our investments, as you can see, in both in securities and money market, and also looking at the repurchase areas. If you look across here, particularly, this is as of the blue is as of 2000. It's 12/31/2011. The red is 12/31/2012. But at the end of the day, what you can see is this line right here, the total, and that we're growing in our investments over time. It's 118 million right here. We're growing in our investments here. We had a repurchase situation here, right to the right side, and then we've grown up over here. If you look at our revenues and expenditures over time, again, with an improved budget, this represented, the gray representing 2012, the red representing 2013. And I'll let that speak for itself. As you can see where we are with our approved budget, and you can see where we are within the budget, operating within the budget, in 2013 and 2012. If you look over the right-hand side, you're looking at actuals now, year to date. And this is where this is the way we are proceeding right now in this budget year. Is that correct? Correct. One of the things that we are constantly, I call us audit city. I've never seen so many audits. We've been audited. We have external audit. I'm glad we did external audit, but we just finished a round of audits. Who was auditing us? We had our ELL department, closely monitored audit. We had our special ed department, closely monitored audit. We had a MOSIG audit. We had a math audit. And this fall we had our financial audit. But one of the things that I think that is an indicator that this district is fiscally stable, this is where we were in 2008. This is the number of findings the external audit found. This is 2009, number of findings. These are beyond what they call the deficiencies, but they actually register in kinds of things that auditors really see as severe problems. This is what we had in 2010. This is what we had in 2011. This is last year. Well, really this fall. 0 audits, 0 findings. I think it's another indicator that this district is fiscally stable, fiscally sound. This is an area we want to continue to grow is our student activity fund. You can see that it was fairly healthy. We took a dip in the distributions, but as you can see, we're having an inning balance, and we want to continue to keep our student activity fund. This is for our sports and many of our other extracurriculars, and we need to continue to grow this. And if you're talking about an area where we need probably a great deal of assistance, is in working at the kind of resources it takes to debate team and other kinds of extracurricular activities where students tie themselves emotionally and tie themselves to the school. And it's a very close connection between the student who's involved in extracurricular activities and their academic achievement. And so we are not in a position sometimes to provide the transportation. We're not in a position for a debate team to go various places, or for some of our dance teams, or for our bands, etc. We need help in this area. This here just looks at the tax revenues and redirected tax revenues. And you know of TIF, and I think this kind of speaks for itself. TIF here, abatement, and the total. This is something that's a challenge for us. And it's a challenge for this community, hopefully, as well. But that's $27.5 million that's redirected from the district to encourage economic development. And let me go on record as saying this. We understand the concept of TIF, and we appreciate and really want to participate very aggressively in drawing businesses here, because I think it helps the entire community. We do think, though, it's a bit out of proportion with regard to the amount that is redirected away from the district. And we don't see, and when these get amended, they get amended out, and so we don't see in the ideal situation, once the business establishes itself and comes into the city, some of these resources get directed back to the school district. That has not been happening to any degree of magnitude. So we want to have a conversation, courageous conversation around that. A courageous conversation around what TIF is doing to the school district. And here again, you can see the redirected through incentive programs, the blue representing 2001, the yellow representing 2011. Turn to change the color on me, wouldn't it? Looking at our debt service, remember before, we don't have an official debt service like many other school districts, but we do have to operate within our means, and we still have a debt limit. These are neighboring districts and where their debt service is. Center, Hickman Mills, Raytown, Liberty, etc. Here's where we are. If we had it, we would probably have a little bit, that 2% I told you earlier, if we had a debt service scenario, 2% compared to our neighbors. Signs of stability. In the area of operations, and some of our codes have changed as we've transferred this, but in any event, in terms of the work order completion time, this is something that our Executive Director of Operations looked at very closely. This was where we were in 2012. Here's where we are in 2013. Here is the industry standard. We work very closely with the Council of Great City Schools. And this is what the industry standard is. This is where we are in terms of completion time. This is not what we want it to be. In fact, I've heard the Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Darryl Marks, say he wants to cut this in half. As you look down on the left-hand side, we look at maintenance costs by square foot. Here is where we were in 2012. Here's where we were here in 2013. Here's the industry standard. Look over the right-hand side in terms of cost per square foot. This is in our open building. This is where we were in 2012, 2013. Moving in the right direction. Not there yet, but moving in the right direction. We got a little bit of a challenge here with water. Because here's where we were in 2012, here's where we are in 2013. Our Executive Director tells us that water main breaks and some other kinds of things, the drought may have affected this. but we've got work to do in this area. One of the things that we've done to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars is to bring a lot of our legal services in-house. Our chief our chief legal officer is right here, am I right? And he's proud of the fact that when you look at this transition where we were in 2009, and you start to look at legal service, fringe benefits, outside counsel, etc., particularly this outside counsel one, and you trace that across, and it got this high, close to 4 million. But then you look where it is right now. Good stewards of taxpayer dollars. Let me put you in context where we are academically as we shift to academics. We've been working through the various cycles. They call them MSEP 1, MSEP 2. That stands for the Missouri School Improvement Plan. And every year we go through, not every year, but every so many years we go through a cycle. We've been through cycle 1, cycle 2, cycle 3, cycle 4, and now cycle 5 is in play, but it's in a draft form. These are the categories in which MSEP, the state, looks at school districts and makes a decision about accreditation. This is where we've been. This is our history of making out of 16 areas. The 16 designated areas, 14 designated areas. There's 16 on the screen here, but two of them are not in play with where the state actually uses. Out of the 14 areas, this is where we were in 2006. Out of 14 areas, this is where we were in 2007. This is where we were in 2008, 2009, 2010. This was 2011 when we reached an all-time low, and the commissioner, given the instability of the district with regard to leadership as well as the drop from here to here, made a decision to designate us as unaccredited. If we read another column right here, it would be at 5, and within 3 points of 6. We haven't been at 5 since 2007. And so as we make our push, and I project to you that we're going to make a very strong push toward provisional accreditation this year, not next year, but this year, we have the laser-like focus as a district to make improvements. So and let me just take you through the chronology. August 2011, this district loses its leader. The announcement is made shortly after that in 2012, January 2012, the district would be unaccredited. The district was bleeding. It was hemorrhaging and destabilized at that time. So my goal was to make sure we stopped the bleeding between August 2011 and January 2012. Then in January 2012, the focus was on how much could we actually, once we had to go through a change in leadership, not only just leadership at the top, not only did Dr. Covington depart, but others left. We rebuilt the team. How much of a push could we make toward regaining at least provisional accreditation status between January 2012 and really April 2012 when the assessment is given to students? And what we found out was, even with the turmoil, even with the turbulence, and this is why Dr. Musa, as you were talking about that, even when times are tough, even when the odds are against you, we moved the needle, not only just from 3 to 4, but from 3 to 5, and really, you'll see in the data that I'll put up here in a minute, almost 6, almost doubled within 1 year's time. Now we got this year, we got a full year run without a lot of change, without a lot of instability. We got a full year's run. And we are very optimistic about the way we're going to progress this year. So let's look at, these are the areas that we made progress in, and of the 5 areas that they looked at. And let me just say this right now, MSEP 4 is has been retired. The system that they used, I felt, I'll be honest, I was very disappointed because we were approaching at least a milestone or a goal, and then all of a sudden they dropped it, and now they've come up with another one. We're within 3 points of provisional accreditation, and now they're saying, you know what, that's no longer in play. Now we're going to go under MSEP 5, and now all the, but to credit to my team here, and credit to a number of other people who mentored me, we didn't get discouraged or distracted by that. But in the advanced courses, our students enrolling in advanced courses, enrollment and participation in career tech ed courses, college placement courses, career tech placement, and then the bonus, the math bonus. Some people have said out in the community, I want to clarify the record right now that, well, I've heard this. They improved, but it's only in the operations side. It's only the operations that improved, but the academics, they've made no improvement. That's not right. Well, they improved in the academics, but it wasn't really in terms of student performance on assessment. It was about participation in, but let me just clear the record straight right here. These four are participation. Enrollment advanced courses, tech ed courses, so on. But this one right here, these are our subgroup areas, our Latino, African American, ELL, special ed, and you have to improve in academic achievement in 4 of 6 areas to get this bonus point. So I dismiss anyone saying you did not improve in academic achievement. Here's what it looks like in numbers and cents. Here's where our MAP index points were in 2012, school year 2012. You look over here on the far right-hand side, these are the areas we did not make it. These are the 5 areas, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just something got cut off here, but there should be another level here. The screen's where you cut it off. But there'll be 5 areas here where we did make it. There's 1 down here that's being cut off. And there are 14 areas here. We improved in 10 of the 14 areas. We didn't make the target, but we showed significant improvement. And this is the one that we almost made. Within 3 points, we almost made the 3 through 5 mathematics. But this system now is retired. And now it's about looking at 5 major categories: student achievement, subgroup achievement, the CRR, which is career and college readiness area, and also looking at graduation rate and attendance. There's 5 areas now. You got 140 points you got to get to be perfect.
Can you repeat those 5 areas?
Overall student achievement, subgroup student achievement in terms of test scores, career and college readiness, which deal with the courses, etc., graduation rate, and attendance rate. Those are the 5 areas under MSEP 5, and the maximum is 140 points. In order to get provisional accreditation, 50% or 70 points you need to have. We as a district are 27.5 points. However, I hope they didn't get that out. And this has gotten cut off by anyway, these are the areas. Somehow they got cut off by the way the screen. These are the, we break these areas down in terms of ELA, math, science, social studies. That represents your student achievement area. Then you have a subgroup inside of this. Then you have your attendance, your college and career readiness right here, your graduation rate. This is what we project. And Ms. Vicki Barillo, she attests to that, as she is our numbers person in this area. These are the points we think we will yield under MSEP 5, and we project we will come out somewhere between 75 and 79 points against the 140 points, which would make us eligible for provisional accreditation. We are on focus, we are on target, we're in full court press mode to reach this by August 2013. cover there a little bit too, because this was a game changer for us. Changing the rules in the middle of the stream. It happens. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that they were doing just to get Kansas City. Even though my first reaction probably was, what? We just got this, MSEP 4 down pat. But credit to this team, credit to the staff. What we did was roll up our sleeves and dig deep. And not only did we dig deep, we stepped in the pocket of the State Department. We got right in their hip pocket, and as they're drafting, because this is still a draft, MSEP 5 is still drafting, we got right in their hip pocket. We're going to understand the metrics and the calculations and where we need to get points and where we can't get points out of this, and we are prepared to make a strong push for provisional accreditation this fall in 1 year. Let me talk a little bit about the future that lies ahead, because as Dr. Lucy said, we met yesterday and I talked about this. We have got to move as a district, but all of the work that we're doing right now is remediation work. Remediation work takes a lot more money. It takes a lot more energy. We've got to move from a state as a district and as a community from remediation to readiness, whether that's kindergarten readiness, whether it's high school readiness, college readiness, career readiness. We've got to work ourselves out of this scenario. But with students who come to us 2 and 3 grade levels behind, the moment they hit the door, we are in remediation mode. We got to catch them up. We're in a desperate attempt to catch them up. So the bigger challenge that we face, but the bigger opportunity we face, is, and as I see for this district, is in universal pre-K. We've got to start not only at we're 3 and 4 year olds, but I think we need to start at prenatal, really. We need to start there, but that's an expensive endeavor. That is something that this district cannot do by itself. I'm going to show you here what we are capable of doing as a district, but that falls within serious limits of what needs to be done. And what has to happen is the same kind of thing that's here in this room, is a galvanizing of community together in order to get this done. Let me just run through this pretty quickly. These are students. This is our enrollment, 3rd grade. This is communication arts enrollment. And these are their performance on math scores in communication arts. This represents students who did not go through our pre-K or Head Start program. So you have advanced, proficient, basic, below basic. They did not go through our program. They may have gone through some other program or no program. This represents students who went through our early childhood program. This represents students who went through our Head Start program. This represents students who went through our Montessori program. But if you look across the board in terms of advanced, look across the board in terms of proficient, and we're not great. We've got work to do too. Look across the board in terms of below basic, and look across the board at basic and then below basic. Let's look over at math. Third grade math. This means looking how they're performing. These are students who did not go through our pre-K program, or they went through some other program outside of us. This is early childhood, Head Start, Montessori. These students have gone through one of these, they'd be better off. Fourth grade, same thing. Communication arts, reading, writing. Let's just look at proficient. Look along the line of proficient. Following. Being in these programs does make a difference. Let's look at enrollment. One of the things we were concerned about, I think the board was concerned about, how many students actually who go through our pre-K, our kindergarten program are retained. On average, about 62, 63% are actually retained in the Kansas City Public Schools. Others may go to private schools, but others may go to other charter schools, etc. Those of you in the community who know Mr. Jerry Kitson, we just hired him to spearhead our early childhood initiative. His sole purpose is to build out our early childhood program. He's about the business of doing that now, and he has broken that into 3 phases. But the first phase he wants to focus on are these critical areas. These critical areas, these 10 major areas that affect not just the math and the science and the social studies and the communication arts, literacy, but also he has keenly educated us, and we need to understand as a community that this plays a very, very important role. Not only students need to come to school academically ready, but this takes a look at their other non-academic, but their social well-being, their health, their mental health, their social-emotional health. And this particular area, this social-emotional area, is critical. Because in the urban core, there's a great deal of violence, there's a great deal of maternal trauma that our students go through. And helping them work through that, in addition to the academic rigor, is a significant challenge. This social-emotional piece. And we can tell the story. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail, but you all know the young man, the barber, who was killed at 31st and Troost. His son is in our pre-K program. What do we tell him? And the teacher began a dialogue with kids about, well, when he comes back, he's going to be feeling bad, and we're going to need to help him feel better about himself and what's going on. Don't you know that in the course of that discussion, there were 5 other kids in the room that also had parents that were killed or relatives that they saw killed? That affects learning. That affects a child. How do you help them work through that? One of the things that we have picked up on is that we can have a positive effect on students looking in these 10 domains. These are students that were in our program. This is where they started in a kind of a pre-test. This is where they were at mid-year in terms of this area of their physical health and development, and this is where they finished. This is where they started in terms of that social-emotional one. This is where they started with us. This is where they were midway through. This is where they were when they finished. We can have some impact. And we can play it on out in all the different domains. There are 10 different domains. This looks at the other domains in terms of the literacy and the science and the social studies and the math, etc. Where they started, midway, where they finished. Where they started, midway, where they finished. So we think we can do something. We don't say we have the total answer. We have a lot to learn. We've got to clean up our own house in a lot of areas with regard to pre-K, which we have Mr. Kitson working on. Phase 1 is to strengthen the core of what we're already doing. Phase 2 is going to branch out further to expand our work. So this just takes a look at, this is a school, an actual school. This is an actual school, red. We're measuring these domains. This school had 5 students that had severe social emotional problems. And their problems affected the entire class in the school. And part of it was not the child's fault. Part of it was we've got to do a better job in teacher preparation to meet up with the challenges that students come to us with. Because the teachers here said we were not prepared to see the severity that we saw with those 5 children, and we started to focus on them, and therefore were not as able to work with the others who had need as well. We're going to need help, and we're going to need community partners. There are challenges that our students face that exceed our expertise. They need clinical, psychological assistance. And so what we're leading toward is a community-based approach. And I'll get to that in a little bit, but again, here's a statement by ensuring excellent early learning and support for every child. I'll emphasize every child as the foundation of a world-class cradle-to-career education system. We will guarantee American success in the 21st century. Help. Metropolitan area. There are 50,000, some of this got cut off. There are 50,000 in the metro area, children under the age of 5. This got cut off here, but only 25% of them, this is what it would say on your sheet there, only 25% of them receive a quality early childhood education experience. And this just says that there was a time when Missouri used to ban the focus on early childhood. Maybe you probably remember that, but that's changed now, and we're glad for that. I don't want to harp on that. It's part of the past, because we still have to deal with it. Preschool children in high-quality programs make greater gains than their peers in low-quality programs. Children in low-quality programs actually lose social, emotional, behavioral skills. So when we talk to Mr. Kitsy, and we have a roundtable discussion about that, and he brings up the cliche, some people will say something is better than nothing. If it's a poor quality program, then something is worse than nothing, is what he's laid out to us. We get that. Children in lower quality programs actually lose, and then the ability to self-regulate for crucial school readiness. Children who start behind, stay behind. Children who enter kindergarten knowing their letters. We've heard that literacy, that lexile piece. One student comes in with 400 words in lexile, another student comes in with 4,000 words in lexile. What's going to happen? These students are 3 times more likely to read and understand simple sentences by the end of first grade. 88% of first graders with reading difficulties will still have reading difficulties or problems by the end of the 3rd grade. Of those, 74% will be poor readers by 9th grade. More likely to drop out, more likely to choose paths marked by crime, poverty, or poor health. This is a community matter. This is not a school district matter alone. School districts involved in it, but this is a community-wide problem. And we have an opportunity to address that. In terms of the return on the investment, high school graduate contributes more than $270,000 to the economy over the course of his or her lifetime. A high school dropout costs $300,000. Academic success as defined by high school graduation can be predicted with a reasonable accuracy by knowing someone's reading skill at the end of the 3rd grade. A person who is not at least a skilled reader by that time is unlikely to graduate from high school, and you all know where the rest of the story goes. You've already heard that they're actually building prisons on the basis of what that data point tells us. We want to address these barriers: limited vocabulary, maternal stress, violence, early our English language learners and the chronically children being chronologically read. I just want to share with you what we are looking at as a district, and hopefully you will join with us in a movement. Not just a program, not just an initiative, but a movement. The Office of Early Learning has 3 goals. One, it wants to strengthen the school. That's cleaning our own house, doing what we do better. Then we want to consolidate the existing sites, and then we want to expand enrollment. This is part of our goal by August 2014. Right now, we're currently serving 1,000 students, 50 classrooms, 18 schools. And this map here just outlines where the early learning programs are spread across the city. Here's what we're looking at in phase 1. Kansas City Public Schools is going to do its homework and contribute to this early childhood piece by strengthening its core, putting the right caliber of teachers before our students, reaching out for community support. We're going to work closely to address the 1,000 students that we currently serve a year. And we're going to expand that in phase 2 by consolidating sites. One of the sites we're looking at, for instance, is Woodland, and actually housing the early childhood center in a school, and then having community service providers and partners take up residence in that facility, whether it's a satellite office or a headquarters office in that facility. Social workers, psychologists, medical, dentists, etc., so the family can come there and actually receive services as their child is receiving an early childhood education experience. That is our goal. So we're going to consolidate, expand, and then move to serve as many as 1,500 students. So we're looking at a community school model, working with existing elementary schools and putting pre-K programs in them and Montessori schools, and we want to move to a level of serving 1,500. That's an expansion. Now, the problem is there's 6,000. The problem is there's 6,000 students that need to be served in Kansas City, Missouri area, catchment area. So the gap between the 1,500 and the 16,000, somebody's got to step in the gap. Not just somebody, but a lot of bodies got to step in the gap. So we're going to use our funding from Head Start, some of the money we receive from the state, and parent copay on a sliding scale to try to get there. Looking at Woodland, we're very seriously looking at this school. We've already, and Mr. Kitsey has already begun to work with these partners. These are some of the folks that will take up residence inside the school and begin providing services. We need other partners. YMCA, this is a pool, so I can't tell you, I'm tired of reading about our young people drowning over the summer because they don't know how to swim. YMCA has a very good deal of expertise in aquatics. They're going to take up residence inside the facility and work with us, and we're going to have aquatics programs. But we've also talked about it in terms of the food desert, Mr. Councilman Wagner. We've talked about looking at this area right here in terms of having food grown and distributed to families in need and students. And I can't tell you all of them. Mr. Kitsey, he is a magician. He's moving around, and he's got people on the radar screen he's talking to. Can't hit Warren Buffett. I mean, he's talking to people who can help us. And so he's got his tentacles in a lot of different places. And we're thankful for him because he's going to work in this area. But we cannot do it alone. Phase 3 is how do we address the bigger issue? And this is 3- and 4-year-olds. How do we serve all 6,000 3- and 4-year-old students within the KCPS boundary? That's what we need to do. And I'm prayerful. I am prayerful that despite various differences, whether that be political, whether that be religious, but despite various differences, we can come together we can come together as a community and build the kind of support that would support these 6,000 students and expand and have a quality early childhood experience so they come to the door of school kindergarten ready, so they go on for middle school readiness and go on for high school readiness and go on for college readiness and go on for career readiness. Cradle to career is what we're after as a district, and that's the long-term proposition that we would like to put before you. Again, the gap is here. How do we get from here to here? I think we can do it as a community, faith-based, philanthropic, civic, political. We can all come together. If we were trying to do it on our own, this is what it looked like, and it's impossible. I don't even know why I put this up here. Isn't that right? Because this is beyond our reach by ourselves. And we don't want, we have no capacity to do it by ourselves. That would be 250 classrooms, $150 million just to serve all. But we can't do it. We need, this community needs, the children need. This is what lays out the dollars. Can we do that? I think we can do that. I'm going to read through this here to serve. This is what we're going to do to serve the 1,500. I'll leave you with this. A couple of times, one must take a position as being safe, politic, popular. You must take it because conscience tells you it's right.
Please don't leave. Get ready to enter the very next and important phase of this process. But before we do, can you all please give our superintendent and his team a standing ovation? Give them some love. Thank you so much. On the agenda now calls for basically what we call voices of the community, the leadership. We'd like for different organizations that are represented here to please come forward and just say a few words, about 2 minutes, about what you just saw, what the prospects are, what the possibilities are, and what you as an organization is willing to do. So, before you come forward, I want to share with you, we're going to move ahead on the agenda and just keep, we have a very important letter that I want to read to you. And I want everyone to please hear this very carefully. The Missouri NAACP operates at the highest levels of government possible. Governor's office, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and we have a letter from the supervisor to the district from DESI that will share with you something that supports what the superintendent had just said. Ms. Rosa James, can you please come forward and read this letter? And then we're going to hear from
moving forward. The blame game is over. This community let the school district down in 1969 on the school levy. And in 1986, this community, they put it on the ballot, the school levy, this community let the school district down in April of that year, August, and November. They put it on the ballot 3 times. And we haven't been back since as far as supporting this school district on a school levy.
but we must take a stand. Okay, I contacted Dr. Tony Stansberry, and he is the one that comes from, I'm going to be saying DESE. You know, a lot of people use acronyms now, and we don't know what they are. But that is the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And he happens to be the state area supervisor who comes in to listen to Dr. Green and his staff as to what they're going to do to get back to reaccreditation. He wasn't able to be here today, but I did write him back and ask him if he would write a statement. I was shocked, but he did. I will read it as quickly as I possibly can. Dear members of the NAACP Leadership Summit, my preference would have been to speak directly to you regarding the progress being made in the Kansas City Public School District. All the elected officials in here, you don't have it in the hallway, do you? Okay. But due to a previous engagement, I will have to settle for sending you this brief summary of my assessment of the district status. Since the district lost its state accreditation in January 2012, a great deal of effort has been made by the district to improve student academic achievement, the primary reason for accreditation being revoked. Through the DESE Missouri Turnaround Network, the department has been directly involved with the district on a number of levels. That involvement, with full cooperation from Superintendent of Board of Education and the Board of Education, has allowed us to get a clearer picture of the inner workings of the district. Examples of DESE's involvement are as follows. Our Regional School Improvement Team Monitoring System has conducted monthly public meetings where the district has presented data and information relating directly to issues that preventing the district from receiving full accreditation. I have attended all of those 3-hour meetings once a month, okay? That's me. Our Missouri School Improvement Grant Program, more commonly known as MOSEG, has allowed us to monitor school improvement efforts at 3 of the district's lowest achieving high schools. And for the past 2 months, DESE personnel have been working together with the superintendent's leadership team to conduct monthly focused school data meetings with 11 schools that were identified as having learning gaps between schools, subgroups of students and those not identified in those subgroups. We know that the district has placed high priority on reacquiring full accreditation. Their roadmap to reaccreditation has been seriously implemented with what the district refers to as full court press, meaning that improving student achievement is the #1 goal of the district. The superintendent has his internal leadership team focused on this goal, and it appears he has the full cooperation of the Board of Education. We know, although progress has been made, the road back is not a quick and easy one, but the board superintendent team seems to be providing the kind of joint and stable leadership necessary to help the district focus its attention where it needs to be and provide the resources necessary to appropriately serve the students. Receiving a positive financial audit report, strong efforts to improve student attendance, providing data team training to staff, tracking student progress to move more students toward proficiency in English, language arts, and math are but a few of the systematic efforts being pushed forward by the district. Benchmarking test scores, which the district uses as predictors of student achievement for the upcoming state math test, appear to be favorable. So, the district is expecting math scores to rise with this year's testing cycle, which begins in April. Thus, we will soon know how far the district has come this past year. Hopefully, the test will reflect favorable improvement. In my opinion, most school improvement indicators seem to say that the district is headed in the right direction. Continued support from the community and organizations such as the NAACP is encouraged. For as the old saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. This is a worthy goal, and with the help of the full school community, the district's chances of eventually reaching the mark of reaccreditation is very possible. I hope the above information gives you a helpful perspective of the work going on in the district. I applaud your efforts to support public education. And in particular, we at the state level appreciate the support you provide for Kansas City School District and its students. Sincerely, he signs it, Tony Stansbury. His doctor's Tony Stansbury, and he was a former superintendent, was at least yes. Now go and tell that. You will have a copy of this will be distributed to you. So the challenge is for the community to come together. We let them down since 1969.
Let's give Sister Rosa another round of applause, please. This time we have three major texts, and they're very short, to the point. The very first one is, want to hear back from the organizations that are here, comments, reflections, statements of commitment, readiness to unite, to help the district. We need a perspective. So we have this gentleman here. 2 minutes, sir. Come on up. Please identify yourself and give us a statement. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning. I am honored and great privilege to be in your presence this morning. Dr. Green has given us a very educational platform on what the school district is all about. My name is Reverend Tommy Rawlins, member of the Ministers Baptist Union and the Senate under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Thomas McCormick, who is also a pastor at St. John Missionary Baptist Church at 5906 Kenwood in Kansas City, Missouri. Our Baptist Ministers Union is committed to and is in support of the Kansas City Public School District. And we have been for quite some time, even before Superintendent Green was hired. In fact, just in January in 2013, Dr. Green addressed us and updated us upon the school district's reaccreditation and what we can do to help and encourage the programs that are already in place. We have almost 80 pastors and preachers and ministers that are in churches that are helping students already in the public school district. And they have children that are already in these public school districts. And they are supporting these children. We learned as a ministers union that there were many children, which was greatly surprising to me, that were coming to school, that were homeless. So they were coming to school early to take showers in the schools. And thank God that the schools were feeding them breakfast. How, or could you imagine, to be homeless and have to go to school? But even now, the Kansas City, Missouri Baptist Union, Kansas City Baptist Union, is moving forward. Dr. Wallace Horsfield and Charles Briscoe, a number of ministers and pastors, former teachers in the Kansas City School District, are still placing their support to support Dr. Green in his efforts and his staff here. And I would say to any of you in here today, that if you believe in your child, if you believe in your grandchild, and you want them educated, you want them to graduate from high school, you want them to go on to college, and be a part of this society, Our children are our future. I looked at this prepared statement and thought that I would move forward. Because faith-based is a way that this school district is going to get where it needs to be. No other way. We can find all other avenues to support the faith-based. But I tell you that faith-based is going to get this school district where it needs to be. We have pastors that are going to the schools even now. And when the children see their pastors in the schools, they decide within themselves that it is time for me to do what I need to do in school. And so, as I close, I would say if there's any one of you here that would need our support in anything, please contact us at the Kansas City Baptist Ministers Union. Thank you very much. And give a very round of applause.
Thank you very much. I'm City Councilman John Sharp, and I'll use the same 2-minute clock. But I think we all need to acknowledge that in the past mistakes have been made. They've been made by prior boards, they've been made by prior superintendents. But I want to say, speaking for myself, I have faith in this superintendent. I have faith in this board. And I think the district's on the right track. And when you look at some of the core reasons why the district has struggled, and folks at the state level look at the state takeover, I think some of the state folks need to look in the mirror, because the lack of adequate state funding for public education is a key contributing factor to the inability of local districts, particularly urban and suburban districts, to adequately educate our children. And the state chronically underfunds its own school foundation formula for providing state aid to school districts. And what's worse, if anything could be, is the formula itself is very unfair to urban and suburban districts, because it provides a little additional funding for kids that are struggling and don't have the same support at home, that are on free and reduced lunch. Provides a little additional funding for kids that are English language learners, but not nearly enough. And it doesn't just hurt the Kansas City district, it hurts the Grandview district, it hurts my district, Hickman Mills, which is provisionally accredited, Center School District, all of our districts suffer from it. The other thing that I think is hurting, and all of us in Kansas City need to look in the mirror ourselves on this, is that the civic and business communities of this city have written off the school district. And in writing off the school district, they've written off the school district students, because they have not remained engaged. They haven't provided the support and the mentoring and the tutoring that is done in many other districts. And I am so glad the district is moving ahead to establish an educational foundation to raise funds to help our kids to do things that the district itself can't provide. All the surrounding districts have these educational foundations. And I go to fundraisers every year, for ones in Hickman Mills, for ones in Center, and they raise quite a bit of money that way. In Hickman Mills, all that money goes to student scholarships to help kids go to college, and to grants to teachers to do things that the district itself can't afford. And this district has a much greater funding base than those suburban districts, some of which don't have a lot of businesses in them. But all the vendors, all the suppliers, all the businesses, all the churches, all the civic organizations ought to be involved. They ought to help raise money for the foundation. Every school should be adopted by some group, a civic group, a church, a business, to help tutor and mentor the kids. And I'm glad the district is is on track to establish and activate this foundation, I'll be glad to help any way I can. Thank you.
Stopwatch, but I couldn't find it. Good morning, and I follow Mrs. Rose's instructions. I am here on behalf of the Local Investment Commission. I serve as a deputy director. I worked with Jerry Kitsey for 22 years, and we have been partners with the district for 20. We are here to pledge our commitment to the district, that our actions speak so loudly. I don't need to say anymore. There will be information passed around about the Local Investment Commission. And I apologize for my attire. We had a youth activity today. So we are committed. We pledge our allegiance, and we will be there and have been there and will continue to do so. And I want to thank Anita and Miss Rosa, because these two ladies have been on the battlefield for a mighty long time. Miss Rosa taught my brother, and he loved Miss Rosa because she had cinnamon legs. That's what he said. She had. And when I would pick him up in timeout, so that we can walk home from EC Missouri, we just gonna pray for your boy. So the faith-based component does work, and I just want to say to all of you, it is always indeed a pleasure to serve the community in which we reside. And when we see him face to face, I would like for us to be able to say, we wore out, not rusted. Thank you, Ms. Rosa. Thank you.
Should get that stopwatch out for me. I'm more a filibuster style speaker than a 2-minute speaker. I'm Laura McDonald with More Squared. More Squared has a long history of partnering with the school district and working on policy issues. I think there's rarely a board meeting that we don't attend or have representatives at. We work on all types of policy issues. We are launching here in Kansas City in the whole metropolitan area a big endeavor whereby we intend to tutor thousands of students, particularly in the Kansas City School District and some of our lower income parochial schools and charter schools as well, but a strong focus on the school district. So Doctor, we heard your call. Ms. Russell, we heard your call. We are definitely on that. We'll start our tutoring program for our faith-based community leaders who are going to be the tutors, actually April 6th and April 7th. And we have a strong partnership with Candace Cheatham and Link, and they are doing our training with and for us. I also wanted to mention on the national level, we're a Gamaliel affiliate. Gamaliel is Chicago-based, and they happen to be the people who trained our president as a community organizer. Gamaliel actually sits at a table with Ben Jealous, and so we partner strongly with the NAACP. And just last week, Gamaliel was represented by our own Pastor Councilman Michael Brooks on DC, where we met with the White House Chief Domestic Policy Advisor, and he talked about what we needed to see both in this city and on a national level in education policy. So we have a wide presence locally and nationally, and we're just glad to be here. Thanks for having us today.
Good morning, I believe it still is. My name is Jatan Charles Jones, and I am here representing the 2nd Masonic District from the Order of the Eastern Star. And I've listened to your presentation, and I think it was well put together. And I come to say that we will continue to do volunteer work and provide hats and things in the winter, because we realize there is a homeless population. And there are children that are coming to school without items that they need, such as books and school supplies at the beginning of the school year. But I have a question for you also. Looking at your early childhood program, I think it is really great and a good incentive to start. But I guess my question is, in the surrounding school districts, and only in the Kansas City School District, can you start kindergarten at 5 years old, and you just turned 5 2 days before school started? Why is there a difference? First of all, studies have shown that your children are not prepared. So that would affect some of the learning. Is there ever anything on the table to put forth to change that? Because in all your surrounding school districts, all your charter schools, all your parochial schools, their age limit is you turn 5 before or on July 15th or somewhere in there. School starts August 20th or so. You can turn 5 August 18th and go into a kindergarten class. And there's your disparity right there. So my question is, when you look at that, where is the change going to come? Parents might not realize it. When you hear the parents speak, they're only talking about, well, let me get them in because I want to hurry up and get them out. Not understanding, well, maybe your baby is not emotionally ready, is not educationally ready because you haven't sat down and taught them the ABCs, how to spell their name, what your name is, what your address is, what your phone number is. And yes, it does take the community to do that, but it also takes the school district and us to say, you know what, if you're not prepared, we need to stop it. And we realize that age gap and that age difference makes a difference. So I would like to, I would if you could.
You raised a very important point. It's something that we're looking at right now, even as we speak. So I think we can even extend the time till late September, October 1st, that the child can get in. That age gap does make a difference, and we are going to change that going forward. We couldn't change it perhaps this year, but it'll probably change next year. And then what's still important, though, and we don't want to miss this point, that even as they're waiting that year delay, something substantive has to happen. Otherwise, it's worse than if we didn't. They would probably be better off coming in underprepared than not having anything happen in that year that they're waiting if they just turn, let's say, 2 days before the enrollment of school. So what we have to do is make sure, and that's where the collaborative partnership comes together, that while they're waiting another year before they come into kindergarten, so we say we turn 6 2 days before, do we have something substantive available for them that helps them learn their letters, colors, etc. But I agree with your point overall.
If you could hold your questions, please. We want to let our speakers come because they're standing here. So if they'll come on, and afterward, we'll give you an opportunity to ask your question.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the NAACP for reaching out. You're always on target. Again, I'm Melba Pearls, and I was a former state representative, and I know that the mindset in Jefferson City, and I think it's still the same, is that we gave Kansas City School District all that money. You got all that DSEG money, and so you ought to be happy and move on. So with that in mind, I want us to be mindful that there's still movement, and I guess it was the Senate. Did it pass through the Senate?
Yes.
The takeover? Did it pass the House yet, too? Okay. Well, we have our state people here, State Representative Brandon Ellington and Randy Dunn are here. Senator Kiki Curls was here, but I want us to just keep the dialogue going, so we'll know what's going on and know where the bill is to take over our district. I did have a chance this past week to talk with the governor, and we were in Jefferson City lobby, and I was with the Greater Kansas City Chamber, and I asked him, I said, if there is, the takeover movement does happen, will you have a chance to appoint someone, and he said, no, Desi would do it. Desi will do it all. So that's another thing we need to keep in mind. If this does happen, I hope it won't, Desi will be picking, whether it's 3 people to be the, whatever they call them, the board, whether it be 3 or 5 or whatever, Desi will be appointing them. So that's kind of something we need to watch as well. So I just want us to be mindful, keep in touch with our elected people, keep in touch with the NAACP, and of course our school board representatives, so we'll know where we are and be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. In the name of God, the beneficent and merciful. I'm a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. I like to always start off with thanking God first. I just never even intend to say anything without acknowledging Him. I thank the NAACP for even extending an invitation to me. But Dr. Green, I can honestly say, brother, I owe you and your staff an apology. I was in the middle of defending the A school, and I kind of sided with that. But one thing that I believe in is that if we don't know how to acknowledge where we're wrong at, and do is what Paul said, put away all bitterness, not some, but all, then we'll never be able to go forward. So I would like to say, all praise is due to God, I would like to say that, we can talk and talk and talk, but the solution is our unity. And I'm saying this to say that our youth, they belong to God, and we must accept them. But they are just snared in Satan's world right now. And I say that to say this paper, we are on a campaign now. A lot of our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren, they're not listening to preachers and teachers and law enforcement. They're listening to that. But our grandchildren and our children is listening to them. So what will be in their minds when they go into a school? Like you said, Mr. Green, I was just at the Central a few weeks ago, and there was a big altercation, 30 to 40 students. They was all on one or two little guys. And when we finally did get it broken up, 4 or 5 went to jail. And I was walking with the young brother, and I told him that I asked him, first of all, what is this about? And his answer was, I don't know. Then I asked him, do he realize the harm that he would cause his mother or his grandmother if he was to lose his life? And the brother said he don't know who his mother is. She gave him away. So you're right. It's a lot of our young people in school who don't even understand what they're going through. But I have a saying that if everybody do a little, nobody has to do a lot. And I don't expect for you all who have fine degrees to come out of your office to do the things in the field that we can do. We have to find a way to connect with the young people that is willing to go out, but it must start with God being the center of it. And that's why I'm glad this meeting opened up with prayer, because any meeting I go to that doesn't mention God, I'm skeptical. I'm like, what are we doing? We didn't give ourselves the gift that we got, the hands that we got, the eyes that we have. It comes from a creator that is much bigger than we are, and the problem is our disunity, where we as adults, we fail to learn the lesson of history, which is everything in God's creation has a natural enemy. And the game changed, Mr. Green, because the enemy still exists to stop the progress of human beings in their fullest potential. So thank y'all so much. And I want to say on behalf of the nation, what we offer is what y'all would allow us to do. We have a solution that changed the minds and the hearts of young men. When they see us with our suits and ties on, they respect us. And they ask us, are you hot out here with this suit on? But we share with them there's a hotter place that you want to go to, and you don't straighten your life. So we all praise God. We just want to be able to offer the help that we can. Our people is dying, but they can live just as it is written in the book of Ezekiel. But the answer was, God only you know. So we should turn to God and go to our youth and not be divided over our labels. Let's unite under the principle of truth. So thank y'all once again, and I hate to come to a meeting early and leave late, and I hate to come late and leave early, but I have to go. Because those young people on 31st and Prospect, I got wind that they're in a confrontation. And it is best for me and my brothers to be out there so don't nobody lose their life. Sometimes all it takes is your presence. You don't have to say anything, just be there. So may God bless us. Thank you.
I want to make sure everybody fills out this yellow thing here. Also, there is a document on the last table in the corner there. Please make sure you take a look at it and sign your name and your organization's name. We're going to frame it up, copy it, and every organization here is going to get a copy of it, reflecting this particular framework in this moment in time. Please, somebody back there, help me manage the crowd before they leave. Make sure they sign. Come on in, sir. Thank you so much.
You know, I want to start by saying, when we were going to school, we came to school emotionally prepared. We came to school with an expectation from home of what we were supposed to do when we got there. And through the whole presentation that Dr. Green made, the biggest part that stood out to me was the social and emotional development. That is the most critical part of our school district that needs to be changed. I talked to a boy and I said, "Why are you so mad? Why are you acting up?" He said, "The same people that burned our house down a year ago just shot it up last week." Remember, Richard? And when you look at that, the turmoil emotionally that they're going through. So I'm here to say that what our district needs is love and concern, volunteerism. Illiterate students is documented, as he said, they become felons. So we have to understand that they're pre-K all the way up. They need someone to show them that they care. And if it's not a family member, a volunteer will serve very well. A volunteer can help these students and help these teachers in these classrooms, being a cafeteria monitor, being a classroom helper, being a hall monitor. I've served in each capacity, and I'm here to tell you, it makes a difference. But doing it as a single individual, and I say to the Baptist Ministers Union, to the Nation of Islam, to the heads of the associations out here, the Adopt a School program, each church, each organization, each family, pick a school. We personally have been in Martin Luther King, not because of any other reason that was the one that was selected, but all of them need it, and they need us. These fine people cannot do it without us. And the movement that Dr. Green spoke of is the movement of love and concern from us. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I was told earlier that not to come up here and say what you must do, but to come up here in action to please help. Please churches, please organizations, please associations, help the school district by volunteering and getting involved.
Hello, I want to thank Ms. Rosa for inviting me to come. My name is Jessica Piedra. I'm the president of the Latino Coalition of Kansas City. We're a 25-year-old organization formerly known as the Coalition of Hispanic Organizations. And what we try to do is really bridge and connect our different organizations that are serving our community, and a major, over the years, project has been also to connect the various communities in Kansas City. Our issues are very similar. Our children are facing the same thing that, black and brown children are facing a lot of the same issues with poverty, violence, like they've talked about. Unfortunately, our children are also worrying about whether their father's going to be disappeared as he drives to work in the morning. I mean, our immigrant children, really, I get calls all the time. I'm an immigration attorney that frantic from the mother that the father's been arrested and probably they'll never see him again. I mean, these are things that, an additional layer that we're working on a policy level that we really, for immigration policy, we want to build bridges where the leaders want to divide us, and tell us that Black folks lose when immigrants get status, but that's just really not the case. We all are in this together, and what we say in the coalition all the time is we're in Jefferson City a lot fighting anti-immigrant laws, not because we only care about immigrants, because most of our members actually are native-born Americans that have been here for generations, but that those same folks that don't like immigrants don't like native-born Hispanic folks, and certainly don't like Black folks. So it's the same folks we've been working with for the 100-year history of the NAACP, and we are committed to stand with you. 25% of the district is Latino at this point, and so it's all of us working together. And we're happy to promote any of the events that you all are hosting. We want to hear about it to our members, and we want to attend and really build bridges and work together. So thank you for having us.
Thank you.
I'd like to say all praise to God. My name is Brandon Ellington. I currently represent the 22nd District at the state, and I'm also the Vice Chair of the Black Caucus. The only thing I wanted to say, I'm going to be extremely short. When you talk about the expectations in the schools, we should have higher expectations in so-called inner city schools, the public schools, and we should have higher outcomes. I graduated from public school. When I went to a major university, there was so much that I didn't learn in my high school days. When I go to some of the schools today, the conditions in the schools are not adequate to what our expectations should be. I know Dr. Green and the school board have done a lot of positive things, and we have a lot of positive teachers in our schools. The only thing that I want us to do is have a higher expectation and have a higher outcome. When we talk about Senate Bill 7 and House Bill 50, I don't like to bet, but it's almost a guarantee that they're going to come out. Those are the school takeover bills that we're seeing. Representing Councilwoman Curls talked about the mentality of the state. The mentality is that Kansas City gets $14.5 a year per student. We produce very little high outcomes. And that's my issue when we talk about the schools. As the Vice Chair of the Black Caucus, I'm going to do anything that I believe is in the best interest of people in the impoverished communities. We all know the social conditions, the culturalistic conditions, and the lack thereof of current parental involvement. But knowing that, you have to work to fix that problem. That's the only thing I want to say.
Great, thanks. Give it a hand.
Please, I want to remind everyone, please make sure you fill out this document before you leave and give it to Ms. Mary. Mary, raise your hand, please, so everybody can see. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm State Representative Randy Dunn. I represent the 23rd District in the state legislature. And I just want to also say there are a number of things that we are looking at down at the state level dealing with the Kansas City School District. One of those being Senate Bill 7 that's been talked about. And there are a number of other bills that have been proposed from legislators that would have some sort of impact on our students here in the Kansas City School District. Now, I will say a number of those bills have been proposed from individuals who are outside of the Kansas City area. And I'm always skeptical when people outside of our community are trying to dictate what happens in our district. And so that's something we have to be very mindful of. Something else I'll just say also, I think I want to thank the NAACP as well for having this forum and beginning and continuing to have this dialogue of how we address the issues in the Kansas City School District. I believe, we need to really look at universal pre-K. That is something that President Obama spoke about in his State of the Union address, and looking at some things that have been done in Oklahoma and Georgia that has proven to be quite successful in those states. And that's something I want to take a look at and seeing if that is something that we can do here in Missouri. Also, we need to make sure that we are really engaging the parents and the guardians of the students in the district.
That's one of the most critical things that we can do, I believe, to really achieve success in the Kansas City School District, is making sure that those parents and their guardians are truly involved in all aspects of their education. And moreover, we need to really take a holistic look at what is happening in the lives of our children. Not only what is happening to them when they are in the school building for those hours, but what's happening to them outside, what is happening to them as they're walking to and from school, the abandoned buildings that they're having to walk past, the crime-ridden neighborhood that they're having to live in. We have to look at all of those things, making sure that they are coming to school with a full belly so they can really focus on what is happening. And so those are some things that I want to continue to focus on. Just know that you have a friend in me and the legislators. My thing, I want to make sure that our children are learning to their full ability. At the end of the day, that is why we are all here, is to make sure that our children are learning, and I'll do any and everything that I can to make sure that that happens. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Before you leave, though, this is my brother. Give him a hand, please. Okay, I'm going to ask him just a very small task that is very specific. One of the major areas of concern for accreditation is school attendance. We have some students who are not coming to school every day, and we gotta have 90% of the time participating. We have the names of those students that live in your district. We'd like for you to maybe help us to paint it better to those students and their parents in your district, to encourage them, to empower them, and to help us push them so that they hear from their representative saying, you know what, this is so important. If you don't do anything else but work for me, I want you to do this other thing. Make sure this child shows up. I'm serious. Because without that, we're not going to make those points that Dr. Green is talking about. Can we get a clear from that from you, sir, to do that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem doing the letter, but I think more importantly, again, we need to go back and making sure that when they're in the school, that they're learning. That's my number one.
When they get there,
regardless of what points that you're getting for MSET 5 or whatever, those kids, when they come to school, they need to be learning. That's my focus.
We understand that.
But I'm committed to doing that.
Well, let's give him a hand, please. All right.
Brandon, did you hear that? Brandon.
Who is Brandon?
We gotta get our kids to school.
My name is Mariel DeCourcy, and I'm representing Visitation, CCO, Communities Creating Opportunity. This is a faith-based organization that has been in Kansas City for 35 years. And at Visitation, we have been working on the notion of public education for the last 10 years. And I think you might be interested to know why we chose this topic, being residents of the Southwest Corridor. And when we interviewed over 300 of our parishioners at that time, we said, what are your concerns? What needs to be fixed? And the answer was public education, because one, even though we have our own school and it does very well, we have a moral responsibility that every child has a decent education. And the second reason was we pay taxes, and we want to make sure that our money is well spent. And the third reason that was on a very personal level to many of our parishioners is that we're losing our neighbors. When our neighbors' children reach school age, they move because they don't want to send them to the Kansas City, Missouri School District. And we would like to keep our neighbors. We would like to have an option for them that they can afford. We will continue, we have for the last 2 years, worked very hard to support the district and the board, and we will continue to watch their work, to speak with them, and to share our concerns and understand their concerns, and garner support in our communities to support the district. We're particularly delighted with the changes that we've seen occurring this year. Just really impressed, and I'm not going to take time to review things that people have already said. I thank Rosa and the people here who have come and who have put this thing together. I think it's a really good step forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. second. State Representative Brandon Ellington has asked for point of personal privilege. We give it 30 seconds.
And I apologize for Richard, he's one of the teachers that's extremely good. When you talk about the state takeover, because we hear various things that people come to you and they say, well, why are you letting white folks take over schools? That's not the issue. We still living through we still trying to look at things through a racial lens. And I'm not saying we don't have racial biases and all that good stuff. When I graduated, we lost accreditation in 1999. It's been more than 2 years. When we talk about the performance standards underneath the new MSAT 5, I believe the school district is at 19 right now. They have to be a 51 to be physically accredited. And like I said, I believe the school board and the new superintendent has been doing positive things. And when you talk about increasing student enrollment or making the schools the type of environment that kids want to go to, it has to be something in that school for the kids to go to. When you look at D-Lysell is off of 38th and Truce. It's where they send kids to get kicked out of the school district. When I go to D-Lysell, these same kids, they say they couldn't do anything, they're enthused to go to that school. You have to ask themselves, why are they enthused to go to this school and they're not enthused to go to any other school? It's the extracurricular activities that they have, such as they have marketing, and they have a machine class and a press class where they actually call businesses and they do things that you would do in a regular job, where if you had a regular job. And when I look at the schools that I came from, and a lot of the inner city schools, we're missing the type of extracurricular activities, and in particular curriculum that would be beneficial to a long-term academic assimilation into normal society. Again, our expectations for so-called minority kids or kids that come from poverty is extremely pathetic and it's low. When we look at the historical foundation of education, we know the universities came out of Africa, so it has nothing to do with black kids can't learn. When we look at from the first Reconstruction to the second Reconstruction, which would be the end of slavery into 1965, we see that poverty is the excuse, but it's not the overwhelming excuse because the majority of black folks was in poverty. Yet we had an 80% educational attainment as far as literacy, economic development, home community, etc. So we have to get to a point where the kids is the first thing that we're fighting for. And when I look, and again, I'm not bashing the school district or the superintendent because I do believe that they committed. When I look at the outcomes of the inner city schools, and particularly in my district, they're pathetic. When I look at parochial, I went to a parochial school. And I'm not saying parochial school is better because I went to Hogan and it wasn't better than Passaic at all. But the level of education that I got when I went to college, and I was 22, 21, I'm about to stop, and I went to UMKC, it was kids in there that would raise their hands talking about, I heard that philosopher in 7th grade. I heard that math equation when I was in 6th grade. I'm a 21-year-old, 22-year-old man, I have no idea what they're talking about. So again, when we talk about education, we have to be honest about everything, not just the fiscal attainments, because that's good. When we look at the lack of educational output, that's the problem. And again, I'm supportive of our school district and our school board. And like a gentleman just asked me, it's not letting white folks take over. Now I'm about to stop. That's not my problem. And we have to get beyond that because as long as we stay in that paradox of colonization, we're not going to get anywhere.
I want you to stand right here while I say something, but this is very important. Our state rep just shared with us a very, very important concern. And many times people think that our schools are so bad, there are not that many good things coming out. I want you to know that there are a lot of good teachers, a lot of good parents, a lot of good children, a lot of good administrators in these school districts. I also want you to know that those children that are not showing up, we can't educate them if they don't show up. And that's why we need you, and we appreciate your decision to help us communicate to those parents and to those children, to help us energize and excite them and inspire them to understand, because you have a leadership here that is totally committed to academic excellence, that is creating the basis for continuity, sustainability, and replicability of whatever it is that works. And they cannot do without your support. So I just kind of want you to know that. We're going to work with you. We appreciate your concerns. We accept it. We love you, and we want to work with you. And we have no problem whatsoever. All the suggestions that you have, we're going to work with you to help implement it, to make this district the kind of district that you believe it must be. Thank you so much.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Richard Brown, and I'm here as president of the Sheridan Estates Neighborhood Association. Dr. Green, as you know, our neighborhood has a rich tradition and heritage of educators, administrators, superintendents, as well as board members. You were a guest speaker at our neighborhood association meeting 2 months ago, and you saw that our neighbors are very much concerned about the state of the Kansas City School District and wanted to know where we'll be going, where we'll be headed, and they pledged their support to the district. I want you to know that as a neighborhood association, we are committed to supporting KCPS by providing a clean environment, a safe environment where people actually want to buy a home and raise their children in that neighborhood. As you pointed out, it's very important that children come from environments in which they feel safe and that they feel good about. And we know that that is so important for them to start off the school day. We want you to know that we currently have a closed building in our neighborhood, J.S. Chick. We will be meeting with Kansas City Public Schools neighborhood this month to discuss the repurposing of that building, and we want to find a mutually beneficial way of using that building for both the community as well as for the children of this community. Finally, I want you to know that in our neighborhood, we will support you because we are known as Sheridan Estates for voting. We exercise the power of the vote. And we will support Kansas City Public Schools on any type of ballot measure that is beneficial and positive for the children of the school district, as well as candidates that are positive for the school district.
Thank you so much.
My name is Andrea Flinders, and I'm president of Kansas City Federation of Teachers and School-Related Personnel. And I probably shouldn't have waited so long. Everybody's leaving. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe not, I'm thinking. I want to talk about one of the things I did when I got elected to this position 4 years ago was I tried very, very hard to change the perception of our union, to change it from one where, you know, we quote, protect bad, all we do is protect bad teachers and worry about salaries. And it was very important to me as a teacher in this district for over 30 years that we work with administration to try to do what's best with our students. As with anything, we don't always agree on everything, but I continue to pledge that we will always try to work with this administration. But the other thing I'd like to do is give you some homework. I noticed on the sheet there's lots of ways that you can show your support for the district, but there's one that's not on there that's probably even more critical. Each one of you belong to some type of organization. You have tentacles that reach deep, deep into the community, to people that aren't sitting here right now. And what I ask of you is that you change the conversation. That when you hear people talk about the school board and their, quote, micromanaging and how horrible they are, that I want you to change that conversation to, you know, have you been to a school board meeting? Do you know we have a new board? Do you know that they're trying not to get away from that? When you hear them talk about, you know, bad teachers, say stop and say, wait a minute, okay, if there's ineffective teachers, then we need to take a look at why that's happening and what's going on. But more importantly, there's a lot of incredible, hardworking teachers in every one of our schools. And not only that, they can't do the work without the support people that also work in those buildings, whether it's the custodian, the cook, whether it's the paraprofessional. Every one of those people, and even the principal, I'll give them credit, all right, work together to do what's best for our children. When they talk about failing schools, stop them and say, you know what, we don't have failing schools, we have struggling schools. We have schools where everybody is working and doing the best they can with incredible challenges. Our schools are not failing, our children are learning. Are we always making it to the point where we want to be? No. So, having said that, I just appreciate the fact that you've been supportive of this district, and the last support I will give you is, I know the predictions are good, and that hopefully we won't have a state takeover and we will meet our accreditation. But if, in case we don't, I ask that you continue to support us, because there will be forces that want to divide us up, there will be forces that want to dissolve our district, and that's not what's best for our children. Thank you.
Children hear this negative rhetoric also. They know everything that's going on, so they feel bad about all the negative stuff that's coming.
My name is Richard Tolbert. Dr. Green, let me try to be short and blunt. Forgive my blunt language. I'm the head, the leader of the loyal opposition, political opposition to the ruling establishments in this town, both black and white. We are gearing up to go to war to defend your parents. That's why we've got this problem. But we have poor parents. We have uneducated parents. We have teenage parents, babies raising babies who haven't had a chance to learn how to be good parents. Therefore, we have to look to you, Dr. Green, to fix the problem. And after hearing your presentation today, and I hope it can be disseminated throughout the community, I'm more convinced than ever that our schools are in good hands. And so I can go back to the ward to keep local control and not have to worry about how you all are handling the schools. I think you're on the right track. Thank
you. Now we may have some other folks.
Good morning. I'm Bonnie Hill. I'm the state representative for the 27th. But more importantly, I'm a school board member. Used to be, and I'm a 15-year school board member. Whoa, you think I can talk loud enough? Yeah, go ahead. And 15 years, and then 4 consecutive years I served as board president. And I want to share this in this room. Education has no color. And I'm so tired of hearing black this, white this, black that. Education has the color of knowledge. And if we can't give what is needed to these children, then what are we here for? When you say that it's the parents or it's the children, let's start with looking at priorities. Attendance is a key to everything that we're doing at this point. Dr. Green is doing a fabulous job. Let me tell you, and I come from the Hickman Mills district. Anybody that knows what beat up is, I should know what beat up is. My main thing that I work so hard with, I'm sick of people blaming. I believe in going out there, you got to try a little bit every day. You got a whole different culture. So you try it, and if it don't work, pull it out, put something else in. And I had a hard time trying to make our district focus in that direction with quit blaming the administrators, quit blaming over here. We have struggling lifestyles here, period. We all are struggling. Our kids are struggling. I don't know about you all, but we have a course that we are dealing with. Our kids who contemplate suicide so much. We got families all over. And as I have met with your board, and we have talked about a lot of things, folks, if we don't wrap our arms around one another and quit beating up one another and do what is needed and help these administrators and do what it is that we need to do first when we start putting our people. Okay? So I intend to continue in the way that I normally do, and I'm going to continue to work with your board members to share the knowledge that I have. And I do serve on higher education in the state. And exactly the same thing I'm saying now, the same thing I say all the time. I'm outside the box. You know how to find me, you know whatever you need. And I also spoke to the Commissioner of Likewise, and I said, you know, when you pounce on us, because you know our district is provisional. When you pounce on us, come in and take a look before you decide to take everything from us. Because believe it or not, the kids know more than y'all all think they do. I got where they call me any time of day night when something's getting ready to happen. And I'm able to let the police know. But if you're not willing to reach out to these ladies, then where are we going to be? And I know you want time and effort, and I usually get to them.
Stay right. Don't leave yet.
And this lady had a question.
Yeah, we'll get to the question just in a few minutes. I really want us to give her an extra round of applause for the commitment that she has to education I want you to know that when the NAACP gets involved like we are, it's all about excellence. We don't believe in institutionalizing mediocrity. We don't believe in just keeping things going, just to kumbaya. We want to do everything that we can to take this district to that stage where people are rushing to come back into the system. That is the commitment that we have. And as a state rep, I also like for you to help us send a letter to those students that we know that may live in your district, if they are, to encourage them so that we can take up the attendance.
I have 400 students, and Joseph is one. People took what I said in a negative space. I don't want your children. I want your children to stay right here and learn from you. Because when they jump from district to district to district, you have no idea what they're doing. I'm in South Kansas.
Oh, you're in South Kansas, okay.
And I'm a product and a graduate from DeSale High School in this district. So don't tell me we don't turn out some good folks.
Did you all hear that? Did you all hear that? You know, we produce great human beings.
Yes, we do.
And we can do more. With your support in Jefferson City, and your support in the Kansas City area, we know we're going to make it.
Well, I have a part of this district, so I have Kansas City, Raytown, Center, and Hickory.
Okay.
So I'm there.
Okay, we'll make sure. We'll identify
I follow all my letters on my email.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Give her a hand, please.
Good morning. It's almost good afternoon, and I apologize for my tardiness, but I had to lead a pastor's class. My name is Bob Hill, and I'm a senior minister of Community Christian Church. And just recently on Martin Luther King holiday, had a good fortune of sharing the dais with his preacher, the superintendent, Dr. Green. I'm here on behalf of More Squared to say that not only am I going to fill this out, but I'm going to have our clergy caucus representing 22 congregations and trying to organize many, many more to be in alignment and pledge our solidarity in as many of these categories as we possibly can. The other thing, though, is we are launching an initiative called 2x2. All the schools that we are engaging are in the Kansas City, Missouri School District. They will stretch across the state line eventually. We're starting small with 20 congregations, but our dream is 1,000 congregations engaging in an average of 10 students per congregation, tutoring, mentoring, supporting, sponsoring, and not only 1 year, but to do it every year for 5 years in a row to impact a generation. That's our commitment for you all. 2x2. Our first training is on April the 6th. And we would welcome everybody. It's going to be at the Link headquarters there at 31st and Broadway. Anyway, 2x2. Thank you.
Thank all of you who have made the commitment and have signed the pledge. Now, there were some questions, so we're going to take a few minutes for the questions. Yes.
Hi, my name is Maurice Perry, and I'm going to like this. I have been on the Precious Doe Committee to work with Alvin Brooks with runaway children a long time ago. Just now with a book called Share the Love. And I'll talk to Dr. Green pretty soon so I can make sure some things improve. And how I came up with this, we had some of our babies, I call them babies, some of our babies sleeping behind my school building. You know, what they will, I didn't know they were even sleeping behind it and coming in and get educated. That's how bad they want to get educated. So some got put out of their homes, stuff like that. And it's like, that's why I created this, just where they can come get clothes, be able to get 2 hot meals a day, and get resources so they'll be able to come into the school district and finish getting their education to become productive citizens in the community. My thing is now, this is where I'm at. Looks like you all have a plan. Kansas City School District have a plan. Do I have some state representatives here? I think some of them, but I have talked to some. I heard it's not a plan. I'm not blaming nobody. All I know is we need a good plan to educate our babies and get them to be productive citizens. And I know that for sure. I'm a teacher as well as a teacher. Got her gang license, why I'm like this. But guess what? I still want to keep moving forward to get our parents educated and get them going on the right track. I don't care that you got people say, oh, you crazy, this, that. No. I'm God's child first and foremost. We're dealing with our children. And I want to support whoever has a plan to make sure that our babies get developed into good, productive citizens. And whatever you need to do, I'm here to do, okay? It's roll to nothing. If you need me over here, you need me over here. And if you need other people, I can do it. I'm a good volunteer coordinator to get the job.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, if not, Dr. Green, would you like to make your closing remarks?
Well, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge and give respect and homage to the NAACP, both at the state and local level, Ms. Radcliffe, Mr. Musa, Ms. Russell, Ms. James. I want to personally extend my thanks to you for the support for putting this together. I know it's a lot of hard work. You are modeling the kind of collaboration that you want across the local to state level, and you're practicing what you preach. And I want to say, to have the support of the long legacy and the depth of your engagement in the struggle and the relentless kind of approach that you've taken to this, I applaud you. Let's give them a round of applause. Let me just say this. I think you can tell this district is locked in and focused. We haven't accomplished everything that we need to accomplish yet. We still have a lot of work to do in areas in our own house, internally, as well as building relationships across the city and across the state and other areas. So we're by no means at any kind of end. We're at the beginning of an important process. But I think we're on to something special, and so my cabinet that we're a special moment in time. And I want to say that some of the transformation that has taken place will never be visible to some people. We have changed some things, and we're still going to change some other things that you may never see. You will see it in the outcome of what happens, but you will not see it internally. But the culture is going to change in the Kansas City Public Schools, the way we interact with people, the way we treat people, the way we engage, and the outcomes that we deliver as a result. It's all about outcomes as far as I'm concerned. Our gains have been incremental, but it's been a very short period of time. But we will make significant strides rather than steps as we go forward. And I pledge my commitment, my team, if I can speak for them, pledges its commitment. And what you have here is, a lot of times, you watch all-star games before, and you have all-stars, and you have all these people with all the great accolades and great credentials, etc. And we have that too on our team. But it's not about how many initials they got behind their name or how many degrees they got. It's really, can they function at a high level as a team? We have a great team, and so as we go forward, we were going to be collaborating and interacting with you a great deal more. I appreciate everyone who came out today. We're energized by your comments, your concern, and your interest in what we're doing. We have no plans to go this journey alone. We have every plan to work in collaboration and communication across the city and across the state. So as we go forward, and I hope we do go forward and not get out of the past. We got some folks who've given up on the district, and if they have, we hope they'll come out of that posture. And for those who have held up the door for a glimmer of hope for us, we're going to widen that door even further every day, every step of the way. Thank you so very much.
Just a few more minutes, please. We are on time, and we're going to finish on time. Just want to remind everyone, we have this document here, this yellow piece of paper. Everyone in here, we want you to please make sure you complete it and you turn it in, including those of you who work for the district. Okay? We also have a document on the back there, on the last table there. It's kind of like a document that's reflecting our collective commitment to what we call unity of purpose as it relates to the Kansas City Public Schools. We want everybody in here, because it's a historic document, to make sure that you put your name and your organization on that document, because we're going to frame it up, we're going to give it, send it to various organizations, we're going to put it in the Museum of African American and Kansas City accomplishments right here. So here's the summary, very briefly, brothers and sisters. Without unity, we cannot effectively educate all those children whose very lives are in our hands. Without unity, we cannot. I just give you a little 30-second story. Just last year, we re-elected President Barack Obama. Give yourself a hand for that. But not only that, about 35 or 40 million of people who voted for him, out of the 61 million votes that he got, were white. Another 12 million, another 9.7 million that voted for him were Hispanics, who voted 71% for President Barack Obama. Another 9 million or so that voted for him were, 3.7 million that voted for him were Asian Americans, who for the very first time crossed both ethnic and geographic lines to vote en bloc, 73% for Barack Obama. And the remaining 12 million were like African Americans who closed the deal. So when we say we, we're not just talking about black folks.
That's right.
We're talking about everybody who's vested in the lives of these children coming together. That is what the NAACP is about. That's why we're here today. I firmly believe that when we unite, black, white, brown, men and women of good will and conscience, not only will we have an excellent school district, we will have a school district that people will be begging to bring their children back into. So let's move forward, let's do it, we can make it happen. The only problem is if we choose not to unite and to be singular in our purpose to do these things for posterity, but I know we can do it. So let's do it. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to call on our national board member and Kansas City chair to please come and give us some closing remarks, Ms. Anita Russell. Please give her a hand.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your commitment. And thank all of you who stayed till the end, because we know it was kind of a long meeting and there are a lot of things going on today. So we're so glad that you are here and that you are willing to help us. The NAACP believes in high quality public education. That's what we support. That's what we work for. And as we shared with Dr. Green on yesterday, he has the support of the local branch. And also he knows, because we see our state president here, and Amusa here, our education chair, he knows he has the support of the state NAACP. And then I would like to share with you that I get an opportunity to speak on behalf of the national, and he also has the support of the national NAACP. What do you call it, full court press? Is that what it is? Okay, we're bringing in the cavalry. And then all of you are part of the cavalry, and we want you to help us. It's about the children. It's not about us. It's about our children. So we have got to come together. If we won't come together for our children, if we can't unify for that, I don't know what to say about us. So we've got to do it. And as I think Wale said earlier, about 100 years ago, how they came together, and that's how the NAACP was founded. And we're standing on the shoulders of all of those people. We have got to do this. We've got to do it, and I know that we will. I know that Kansas City will. Yes. So thank you so much. I want to thank our state president, Mary Ratliff, who is here with us. I want to thank Wale. I remember when I first met Wale at a state meeting, and he spoke on education. And ever since then, any opportunity I get to talk with him, we've had him come. He's come here, and he was here last year. And anytime I get to be in his presence, I just feel blessed because I know he's sincere, and I know he's not only talking the talk, but he is walking the walk. He does what he says he's going to do. And then I want to thank Miss Rosa James, Rosa is everywhere. She attends all the meetings, and she brings back a report to the branch, and she has an excellent education committee, and they're out in the community working. They are in the schools as well. So I thank you too, Rosa, for the
36
work.
years of service to the district and retirement and social security checks.
That's Rosa. Let's give her a hand again.
After our state president comes, Reverend Caldwell, would you make your way? Is he still?
Yes, he's still here.
Make your way. Oh, and then also we want to say the hardest working woman in the NAACP, Kansas City, Missouri branch, Mary. Okay, all right.
Give yourselves a hand. I want to thank our President, Anita Russell, for her leadership here in the Kansas City area community.
Mrs. Green is here. Kim Green, would you wave your hand? She's the wife of Dr. Green. And we know that behind every successful man, there, I'm sorry, he said, be shy. You got him trained well. Every successful man is a beautiful woman.
Thank you so much. It is so important that we work in teams. And if you are, I've been president of the state NAACP for 30 years now. Okay? I'm sorry, 20 years. Right, 30 years. For 20 years now. And I could not do what I do without the help and the support of my husband, Monty. Wait, that's my husband. Chauffeur, my friend, and my bodyguard, and my all kinds of things, okay? And so it is, I listened to Dr. Green so passionately talk to us about the Kansas City School District and his expectation and what his plans are, what his hopes and his dreams are. And I am just hopeful that we understand. Nobody will come into your house and take care of your house like you will take care of your house, okay? We can sit here and allow our school to be taken over because, you know, we talked about the deficiency, etc. We know the challenges that has faced this district and many other districts like this district. We now, and I am saying I am absolutely opposed to schools that are not willing to do better for our students because we want excellence. We want our students to be able to compete. But when we see the forward progress that is being made, and when we have the opportunity as citizens of this community to make our school district be what it is, forget about school day, that you say that was years ago, and probably the folks who were there dealing with the money at that time are probably long gone, half dead, half of them, okay? So these people that are now running the school district cannot be held accountable for what happened in the past. They can be held accountable for now and what they have in their charge. So I am saying to you, We're here, and hopefully you won't think that these are outsiders meddling, because we're all Missourians, we're all NAACPers, and we are here as a connection with the Kansas City NAACP. And whatever support we bring, whatever direction we're going, we are talking with them, listening to them as they monitor the community to see what the community really feels is best for Kansas City. When they've given that to us, we are committed from the national level, from the state level, we are committed to public education because we know that all children cannot afford some of these other schools, okay? We know that folks pick and choose. In the public schools, we know that we take everything, all the baggage, we take it all. So the challenges are certainly different. They need to be different. We have a commitment. You have a commitment, and I hope this is the first of many meetings. That this will not be the last meeting, that this will be the first of many meetings, when we will come together and say, what can we do? Because it's going to take some human resources, it's going to take some financial resources. And there are financial resources in these communities that can be tapped to help the school district. And so let's find those individuals. And I'd like to have that lady back there in the pink. And I'd like to, if I'm grabbing my team, I grab the best team I can possibly get. I'd like to have that lady back there in the pink, that gentleman sitting right over there, hanging on my coattail, as I lead this fight forward, if I'm saying to Miss Anita Russell, not that there are not others of you, okay? But if I am in that community, I want to take those people. That's why I got Wale here. He's so smart, okay? I'm not so smart, I don't know everything. But let me tell you, I got Wale here, who's my educational chair. I got Mr. Pruitt, the brightest man you ever want to meet in Kansas City as my political action person. I got in St. Louis, rather. I got Ms. Russell here on my team as my vice president. I want folks beside me that know I don't know everything. I don't need to know everything. I need to know the people who know. Okay? And so that's what we need to pull together and get moving. So I want to thank you all, and I know that we're going to move forward. Don't sit here and let this school district be taken over by outside forces. You don't have to. You have a political muscle. You just need to pull it all together, make happen what you want to happen for your community.
With that, I want to miss. I'd like to ask a young lady to stand up. My boss and my partner, Joanne, can you please stand up? That is my wife for 22 years. And with her, we have raised some wonderful children, and she's a partner in the struggle. And we really appreciate it. We look forward to seeing everybody. Please make sure you turn all those yellow sheets in, but everybody in here, please do not get out until you have put your name on that little poster that is in the back there. You pick up a copy of one of those statements. It's a historic document. Everybody from Dr. Green all the way on down, everybody here, please make sure you do that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now I've got to go home, so I don't want to get in trouble. So I would like for my husband of 40 years, my bodyguard, to stand Joshua K. Russell.
Shall we stand for a word of prayer in this message? Holy Father, we come to say thank you. Thank you for this gathering, oh God. We come thanking you for what our ears have heard and what our eyes have witnessed and what our hearts have felt. Now, God, we are committed to doing what has been presented here. Be with us, oh God, and stand by us. Continue to bless Superintendent Green and the entire Kansas City public school system, oh God. Be with them and stand by them, oh God. Be with each one that's represented here. Be with the parents and also the students. Now to him who's able to keep us from falling. Now may the grace of God, the sweet communion of the Holy Spirit, rest and rule with us now, henceforth, and forevermore. Let every heart that agree with me say amen. 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 Amen.
Okay.